Hello and welcome to our first video lesson. This one is on rounding numbers. We're going to have something for grade 3 and grade 5 to look at together. This is a reminder of the lesson we had earlier today. And first of all, I would like to welcome you to do a search for rounding. There's an awesome part of a lesson that was done on Odd Squad a few years ago on rounding. It's the spaghetti mountain, or the pasta bowl. So when we talk about rounding, I'm going to talk about a few different things. We're going to start basic and we'll get more complicated. But I'm first of all going to line up all of my numbers 0 to 9. You'll notice I did not start at 1, I started at 0, and that is important. Okay? So the basics of rounding is, let's say we are trying to find out whether a number is closer to this end or this end. We'll start with 0 and 10 over here. We want to know, when we are rounding, is it closer to one than the other? Now, why would you need to know this? Well, sometimes it's good to do a bit of an estimate. Sometimes you don't need to know exactly what something is, so you've got a little bit of flexibility. So when somebody says, how many marbles do you have? You say, I've got about 30. And you could have 27, you could have 31, but about 30. So let's take a look at this. Pretend that your number line here, starting at 0 and going to 9, they're up in the sky. They're hanging there from the ceiling, they're up in the sky, and they're going to fall. And when they fall, there is a little bit of a mountain here. It starts at 0, and it goes up to the middle, and then it goes down. Okay? And with, it didn't work out that well. So whenever that number falls, it's going to hit that mountain, and it's going to roll one way or the other. Now, the dividing line is between the 4 and the 5. I should do that in another color to make it pop. There is our dividing line. So if that number hits the mountain, it's going to roll either this direction, down, or this direction, up. So let's say we're looking at the number 4. Is the number 4 closer to 0 or 10? And you can see in this, it's going to hit on this side of the mountain, and it's going to roll So the 4, if we're going to round off the 4, it is closer to 0. Okay? If instead we're talking about 7, 7 is going to drop down, hit the mountain, and roll, because it is closer to the 10. Now, not everything is between 0 and 10. We may have other numbers that we're looking at, and we're going to look at that now. Okay? So, erase what we've got so far. I'm going to leave my mountain, but this time, instead of having a number 4 or a number 7, we're going to pretend it's the number 71, 72, 73. So
70, 71, 72, 73, etc., etc., etc.
And then after this, instead of 79, the next number is 80. And we want to know, what number is it, which way is it going to go? And again, we're going to look at our number line, we're going to look at our mountain and see which way it rolls. So for instance, if somebody says, hey, 72, I want to round that off to the nearest tens. 72, it's going to drop down, and it's going to roll, and it is closer to 70 than it is to 80. 78 is chosen. It's going to drop down, and it's going to roll up, because it is closer to 80 than it is to 70. All right? Now, again, 74, it hits the mountain, it's going to roll that way. 75 is going to roll that way. Now, why did that dotted line here show up between the 4 and the 5? Well, 70 is obviously closer to 70 than it is to 80. Okay? 69, that's a different kettle of fish, but we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and pause for a moment, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? So if we're looking at it, starting at 0, going to 9, we have 10 numbers. And I'm going to kind of line them up the best that I can. Here we go. A little bit challenging because I'm backwards. So I'm going to look at my hands, and you'll notice my head is kind of in the middle of the mountain there. If I've got a 70, wrong hand, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, if one of those numbers is the one, it's going to round off to the lower number. If it's 75, 6, 7, 8, 9, it's going to round up to the larger number. So again, it's a really easy divide. I've got a hand over here and a hand over here. Which way is it going to go? All right? So that's the easy part. Well, that's the basics for rounding. Sorry, not the easy part. And now we want to get a little bit more challenging. So we've gone from 0 to 9, and then we changed it up, and we went to 70, 71, etc. Well, now, let's say, I'm going to get, sorry, my apologies for taking the time here, but I don't want to confuse things. So we're not talking about the 70s anymore. We're going to look at some new numbers now. So bear with me in the back of my head as I erase these. And let's say I've got a number and I want to round it off to something other than the nearest ones. All right, let's say I've got a number and it is 783, and I want to round it off to the nearest 100. Okay, not the nearest tens, the nearest 100 instead. What I'm going to do is I am going to completely ignore that number. I don't care what it is. I don't care. This doesn't matter anything. The only thing that matters is the number 1 to the right. So what I would suggest is underline the number you're trying to round with. So in this case, I'm rounding to the nearest hundreds. This is my hundreds column. So I've underlined that. When I'm looking at how do I round it up or do I round it down, I'm going to look at the next number, the number 1 to the right of it, the number, in this case, 8. Now I go up to my handy-dandy line up here, grab my red marker again, and my 8 drops down, and it's going to roll up. So because it's an 8, that tells me that this number up here rounds up. So the 783 is going to become 800. Okay, rounding to the nearest hundreds. So it has to be in the hundreds column is the number that I want. Anything after that is zeros. Okay, we don't want to have 803 because that's not rounded to the nearest hundreds, that's rounded to the nearest 803. And you've actually got something completely wrong there because that's not rounding. All you've done is you've taken the tens column and you have made a change to the hundreds. So 783 rounded to the nearest 100 will give you 800. I'm going to give you another example. Another example is, say, 647. And this time I'm going to round it also to the nearest 100. So what do? I look 1 to the right. The 4. When I look at the 4, It's dropping on the left side of the mountain, so it's going to roll off down, closer to the 0. So I do not round the 6 up, I round the 6 to a 6. So again, I'm ignoring this completely. 647, the 4 tells me I'm rounding down, therefore 647 is rounded off to 600. Now, curveball. I think you can still see down here. Let's say I have a bigger number, 2,331. And this one, I want you to round off to the nearest hundreds as well. I underline my hundreds. I ignore everything except for the number 1 to the right, okay? The number 1 to the right. All I care about right now is that number. So this 1 doesn't matter. This 2 doesn't matter. The 3, when it hits the line, when it hits my mountain, it drops down, and it's going to roll downwards. So I'm rounding down. So that 231, this 3 tells me this number stays a 3. It doesn't bump up to be a 4. So the 2 stays the same. Everything to the left of the number I'm rounding to stays the same. Everything that I've highlighted, everything to the right of the number that I'm rounding to becomes a 0. So this 31 doesn't matter. The 3 has told me I'm rounding down. This number stays the same because when I'm rounding the number 2331, 2,331 to the nearest hundreds, the nearest hundred is 2,300. I hope this has been helpful. A little bit longer than I would have liked, but I'm hoping that this will give you something to work with. Any questions, please email me, put in a comment down below, and we'll talk. Okay? Thank you.